For our next session, it is my pleasure to invite Mr. Shreenivas Kunte, CFA Ph.D, Director CFA Society India, and Senior Lead Automation and Content at HDFC Asset Management Company. Shreenivas leads the AI and content development work at HDFC AMC. Prior to joining HDFC, Shreenivas was Director of Professional Learning and Advocacy at CFA Institute. Before that, Shreenivas worked shortly as country trading strategist for Citi in Japan. Shreenivas has worked for over two decades in the investment industry. He has worked closely with key stakeholders both in Japan and India's topmost institutions, including regulatory bodies. Shreenivas is a computer engineer and Ph.D. from IIT Bombay. Shreenivas, please take it over.
Thank you very much, Achal, and thank you very much, folks, for staying back so late. It was an amazing talk from Bijal, and I'm sorry that the Friday evening has been dragged in. घर में जाके पकोड़ा खाना है, बटाटा वड़ा खाना है, यहाँ पे आप बैठे हो. Thank you again. It's an absolute honor and privilege to be with you all and with an amazing speaker today, Mr. Vikram Srinivasan, who's going to talk about AI in wealth management. Vikram is an accomplished academic. If you go to Google Scholar and look at just Google Vikram Srinivasan, you'll see the papers he has written. I think the most read paper or most cited paper is Cooperating Networks or something like that. Very difficult to understand for me. More than that, he's the CEO and founder of Needl.ai. It's an AI company devoted to financial services. Vikram has straddled both academia and the corporate world. He's worked at NUS and also IISc. These are very prestigious institutions, universities. He's also worked with Bell Labs. And he's had some experience with startups. I didn't understand the name of his startup. That is my first question to you in the Q&A. Zetata. I didn't understand the name of that. Perhaps some Greek letters pieced together. Vikram has his PhD from University of California, San Diego. Please give him a big hand. And I'm sure this will be an entertaining session. Thank you.
Thanks, Srinivas. Kind of embarrassed by that introduction. So I just want to say, I'm going to be talking about AI, but I've been in this room listening to a bunch of talks, panel discussions, a lot of wisdom, lot of intelligence. All I can say is I think even in another 50 years, I'm very skeptical if any technological advances will beat the kind of insight and wisdom that comes from humans, right? So I'm not one of those artificial general intelligence kind of guys. I believe that artificial intelligence is here to help humans sort of operate better, right? It's going to augment human intelligence, not going to replace human intelligence, right? But there are a lot of exciting things happening in the world of AI today, and it has applications in a diverse set of areas, and I believe also in wealth management. I'm not the expert here, so I will throw out a few ideas, and hopefully there'll be some takeaways from that, right? So there's this very famous AI researcher called Andrej Karpathy, and what he says now, there's one of his famous quotes, right, which is, the hottest new programming language is English, right? All along, if you had to get work done in your organization, automate a bunch of things, you will have to hire a bunch of geeks like me, armies of geeks, get them to write a whole bunch of code, and then it breaks all the time and you don't trust what's coming out, right? Now the power is in your hands, right? And that's the potential of AI. And we'll see how some of that can be leveraged by the audience in this room to sort of work more efficiently. Again, as I said, I don't think AI is going to replace people, but AI is going to help you work more efficiently. So, I mean, that's all, at the end of the day, right? Everything comes with a dual-sided coin, right? There's some good and there's some bad. This kind of a joke, right? If you use ChatGPT, you can load large documents, and it shrinks everything into a single bullet point. That's wonderful. But on the flip side, you give it a few bullet points and ask it to write a humongous essay, it will do that for you too, right? The problem nowadays is we are all drowning in information, right? You're getting WhatsApp messages, you're getting emails, you're getting analyst reports. There's so much news going on. How do you stay on top of that? And a ton of that is actually getting generated by AI today, right? We have all become lazy content creators. You put a few lines into ChatGPT and you have your greatest tweet, you have a nice content marketing article, you can create a video, whatnot, right? But how do you sort of synthesize and live in this world of information overload that's coming at you? So you have to use AI to combat what AI is doing for you, right? And the thing is, AI, at least if you believe everything that's coming out in the press, AI is starting to deliver game-changing value in a bunch of organizations, right? JP Morgan, Bank of America, HSBC, Morgan Stanley, BNP Paribas, all of them claim to be using AI to do work more efficiently. I think JP Morgan released something called Index GPT recently, which claims to have replaced around 17,000 research analysts. I mean, take it with a pinch of salt. But the idea is people are taking this revolution very, very seriously, starting to implement it within their organizations. And we believe that there are a lot of gains, productivity gains, enhancements to be had as a consequence of this amazing technology that has come out, right? But let's first look at, why the wealth management industry has to take this seriously. And at least this is my read, and you guys are the experts in the room here, so I don't claim to be an expert. So one is, there's a lot of money moving from active to passive assets. And I think in the US, of course, Vanguard was at the forefront of driving the whole index-based investing, et cetera. And a lot of money moved from, moved to simple index-based investing. If you read Jack Bogle's book, for example, he advises that you just do simple index-based investing and you can beat most of the smartest money managers out there. And this is starting to come to India also. Index-based investing is becoming popular in India at this point of time. And all of this means it's driving all kinds of pricing pressures, right? People want low-cost ETFs, index funds, etc., which means that the kind of margins as wealth managers that you can make there's this humongous pressure on it, right? And I could be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is what I read out there, right? And this is from a report from BCG. And then there are robo-advisors coming, which are, Vanguard has it, Sophie has it, there's a company called Ellevest, which is only for women. It's coming out in all kinds of various forms and shapes, right? So what do you do, what do you guys do as wealth managers, right? So again, my point here is, if you have technology coming, if you have pricing pressures coming, what do? You sort of use technology to combat all of this, right? So the idea is, can you get more productivity gains? Can you operate more efficiently? Can you do things more efficiently so that even with these pricing pressures and margins, you can sort of eke out very profitable businesses out of this? And can AI be a potential game changer or help for you in here, right? That's sort of the message I'm trying to drive. So where does it help? See, at the end of the day, you want to sort of research potential funds that you can invest in. What kind of fund managers are there? What kind of funds do they operate? What is right for your customer and client based on their risk profiles, where they are in their life? All those kinds of aspects you want to sort of marry clients' preferences with the fund, what the portfolio or the fund operates, right? And then you want to pick a basket of funds so that it matches with your customers and clients' needs, right? Then you want to deep dive into the fund, right? And do all kinds of analysis. Maybe you want to do some kind of predictive simulations based on what your customer's risk profile is and what the fund can provide and operate over time. Then you want to do some portfolio optimization based on that. Which basket of funds do you want to pick for your customer? It could be listed funds. Today, there's a lot of private market funds also coming into play. You want to mix all of that and give a sort of appropriately risk-adjusted portfolio to your customer, right? So how do you do that? then how do you sort of educate your customer, right? Today there is so much noise in the market. The customer could also be coming and asking you all kinds of questions. Could you sort of personalize to them, deliver messages that are appropriate for that particular customer, right? Educating them about what is going on in the market, what is relevant to them based on their portfolio at that point of time. Today, generating all these reports, at least the wealth manager I have, the kind of reports he puts to me, they present to me some complex Excel sheets, and then they weave some story, which is all, I mean, to me is all jargon. I don't understand it. But if it could sort of be explained to me like I am 5, right? That would be very useful for me. And if I could get daily updates or weekly updates on what's going on with my portfolio, what's going on in the market, and explained in jargon that I, as a naive, non-finance guy, can understand, that would be tremendously useful. Today, I'm sure that kind of effort is beyond the scope of most of the folks out here, right? So these are all the kinds of things that you can potentially do with AI. Again, the aim of all of this is for AI to augment what you already do in your day-to-day work, but in a more efficient manner, and give more personalized, sort of a more personalized touch to your customers at the end of the day. So I'll give you, I mean, just to give you some kind of examples of how you can go about some of these processes. These are just my thought experiments out there. I'm throwing it out there to see if it can trigger some ideas for you folks. Let's say, for example, you want to see what type of funds will benefit from the recent budget, right? Again, this is prompt engineering. Today, you're probably reading dozens of different reports, you're reading the news, you're doing all kinds of research to come to some kind of synthesis of what is going on, you're talking to your peers. But with AI, you can ask these questions and get fairly detailed answers. Some of this might not be entirely accurate, but that's where your human judgment and wisdom comes into play. So you can sort of say, for example, it says maybe infrastructure mutual funds are something that you need to invest in as a consequence of the budget. I mean, again, don't quote me on this. I'm not the expert here. You guys are the experts here. And you can then start, for example, digging into, I picked the fund fact sheet of one of the top 10 AMCs in India, which has an infrastructure fund. And then these are, at least to me, these are very complex, large documents with all kinds of Excel sheets and details in there, right? I don't want to go through that and understand what is going on. I want to start chatting with it, right? So I can start asking questions like, what are the top 5 holdings of the infrastructure fund? It gives me a bunch of answers. I want to ask questions like, give the returns generated by the infrastructure fund over 3 years, 5 years since inception. So I could do it for this fund. I could also do it across multiple funds and get these answers very, very quickly and very, very efficiently, right? So these are the kinds of things that AI can do for you quickly without having to have like an army of analysts going through multiple reports, understanding these PDFs, going to this web page, that web page, 10 different web pages, downloading those fund fact sheets, and then putting those numbers together for you. This can all be automated away for you, right? All the grunge work, the boring work. AI, at the end of the day, what it can do for you is eliminate the horribly boring work that a lot of us spend our time today in, right? So that you can spend your time on analysis and insight rather than doing the synthesis. AI can help you do synthesis, and the humans can do analysis and insight. And that's the point I'm trying to drive home today, right? Or for example, run a simulation. Again, this was done purely off a prompt on ChatGPT. And there are tools out there that do it in an automated fashion, right? So you can sort of give the profile of your customer, right? What kind of risk profile they have, what kind of funds they have invested in, right? And if you give all of this data, potentially you can actually run an English-based prompt. Today, for example, for running these simulations, you probably have an army of folks who are running these simulations, then you don't know whether there are bugs in those simulations. You just trust those guys. It might be complete. You don't know. I mean, you might have back-tested it. You might not have back-tested it. You really don't know what's coming out of there, right? But now you have the ability to sort of ask those questions and get answers as a wealth manager, right? You're not depending on n number of other people to sort of give you those answers for you. And that's where some of this efficiency gains can come out of it. And the advantage is it also explains the assumptions that it had, the simulation parameters it used, and you can sort of ask it to adapt to those simulation parameters, adapt the assumptions, and you can ask it to sort of generate those simulations for you. Simple, these are actually fairly simple pieces of code, and you don't have to be a Python expert anymore to start getting these kind of answers out of the system, right? Other kinds of things you can do, for example, risk management, portfolio risk management. I can ask questions like, what are the factors that could impact the performance of small cap funds in India? Maybe you want to ask that question based on recent market changes, etc. It can give you a detailed answer like this, which is kind of boring to read, or it can also give it to you in multimodal format. It can give it to you in tables, charts, so on and so forth. The idea is the ability, again, English is the programming language, right? You can interact with information in English and get answers, and from very, very, very diverse set of data sources. The data sources could be in your email, it could be in a fund fact somewhere, it could be a customer who sent you something on a WhatsApp message. It doesn't matter where it comes from. Today, you're spending a lot of time going to all these 1,000 different sources, collecting it, curating it, and trying to give some insight, right? But the future is you won't have to do that. All that grunge work goes away, and you can get the answers you need at your fingertips, right? Again, I think we're going more and more towards alternate asset classes, right? And you want to monitor what's going on with these alternate asset classes. I don't want to go to 20 different places. Google Alerts sucks. It's just like a very noisy alerting mechanism. Can I have AI, for example, troll through all the data sources I care for and generate alerts for me, or give me a summarized news summary on a daily basis on what I care for. For example, this is about SEC approving Ethereum ETFs for trading recently, right? And if I don't know when this will come to India, but this is sort of very, very big news for the crypto space, right? And you want to keep on top of this kind of information because for sure your customer is going to come and ask for it, or you might want to tell your customer that these kind of things are happening and there are new opportunities for them, right? In fact, today I got another news alert about BlackRock and a whole bunch of other companies trying to take private markets bring ETFs to private markets. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there's some big news about that came to me in one of the alerts. And these kind of things could again be important for you if you want to stay on top of market moving information or market changing information, right? And customer relationship management and marketing. So if you're large wealth managers, for example, if you're targeting ultra high net worth individuals, or if you're targeting even institutions, right? You want to say whether there are liquidity events, there are funding events, acquisitions, etc. happening. There are certain people who will come into a pot of money. So these are potentially people you can approach to invest their money in you, right? So you want to constantly keep tracking for these kind of things. So you can start using AI to track all of these, right? Who are promoters selling shares? Who are promoters having cash acquisitions? You can look at what kind of funding rounds are there. Has anybody raised Series C, Series B, whatever? Because usually in this there are secondary sales and some of the promoters might be making a ton of money and you can start approaching them, right? Similarly, before you're going to meet a customer, right? You want, I made this this is a simple example, but you want to go prepared for the meeting. You want to have a memo on what all past customer conversations you have had, who's the profile of the customer, what does he do, what are his proclivities. If you want these kind of auto-generated reports coming to you before you even go and meet the customer, you can have AI help you do all of this, right? So all of this sounds fun and exciting because it looks like a lot of the work that you spend sort of toil and get to today, which is very painful to get to, AI can potentially deal with and get it to you very easily, right? But I'll skip a couple of these examples. But what are the challenges in getting AI to the promised land, right? So we are at a position where, this is from the Matrix, the red pill and the blue pill, right? You can either end up with a pot of gold or this can be one more Web3 kind of NFT kind of frenzy that ends up in the graveyard, right? And let me be the first one to admit here that there is way too much hype about AI today. I think it's a complete frenzy at this point of time. There is definitely long-term value to be had, but some of the hype is way ahead of what is possible and what is the art of the possible, right? So let's look at some of the challenges, right? And why people are also wary and scared of AI, right? So the primary problem is this, right? At the end of the day, the AI engine is a probabilistic machine. It's a coin-tossing machine. Every word that ChatGPT spits out for you, before it spits it out, it's actually tossing a coin, and with some probability spitting out the next word, okay? And that's all it's doing. So, for example, if I ask 100 times, I ask the question, Virat Kohli is married to, and I put it into ChatGPT. 99 times it might say Anushka Sharma, but one time it might say Deepika Padukone or some other random name, right? Because it's a probabilistic machine. It doesn't really know. It's just tossing a coin and sort of guessing at what the answer could be. And it sounds like intelligence, but it is not real intelligence. It's just a lot of knowledge. Essentially, the way you train these AI machines is you give a lot of fill-in-the-blank examples, essentially. You take the whole web, all the English that is there in the web, all the books that are there, you sort of give it from all the sentences that are there, you sort of hide certain words and ask it to guess those words, right? And it's sort of coming up with a probabilistic view of what language should look like. It doesn't understand the world. It's just coming up with this probabilistic view of what the world looks like, right? And this can have disastrous consequences, especially in business scenarios, right? And one of the biggest disastrous consequence was this, right? When Google, Sundar Pichai went and did the demo of Bard because they were under so much pressure from Microsoft, right? I mean, Satya Nadella had said, we're going to make Google dance or something like that, right? And so Google was under pressure. They hurried and they came out with a demo of Bard. And in that demo of Bard, there was a factually incorrect statement that the Bard put out. And the next day, the stock tanked about $100 billion, right? They lost that much value. And this is essentially the problem. Can it be factual, right? And so now there are a lot of advances coming out, which are sort of large language models, which can do fact checking and verification to make sure that you don't spit out, nonsensical statements. Other kinds of challenges, so we can also give answers with citations and references as to where the answer came from, so that even if there's inaccuracy, you can go and verify. These are kinds of tools that are getting used. Other challenge is understanding multimodal documents, right? Large PDF documents. PDF is one of the most horrible and challenging documents to understand, right? And this is from an Asian Paints annual report, right? For a human to read, it's okay, but for a machine to understand what is going on here, it's exceptionally hard even today, but there are certain advances coming out here, right? So there are advances coming out, new models coming out every day, which are able to understand these kinds of large, complex, multimodal documents, which will help you do your work. And what does the future look like? You will all hear words like co-pilots, agents, etc. coming into play. What are co-pilots are essentially it's like ChatGPT. In the moment, as you're working with the data, it sort of helps you, aids you, assists you. It's not going to replace you, it just helps you get to certain answers quickly. And agents are these automated workflows. So if you want to, for example, before a customer meeting, you want to go prepared with a memo of what are the past conversations you've had with the customer, what do you need to pitch to the customer at this point of time, what are the talking points, what are the sort of his past performance, IRR, etc. that you've generated for them. You want an automatically generated report, then these agents can do those kind of things for you, right? So this is essentially where the world is heading. I know it's been a long day for you guys, and the weekend awaits. So I'll stop here, and if there's time for questions, I'm happy to take questions.
I guess we have got time for questions. everybody interested in Q&A session? Yeah, why don't you put it on the Slido? So to start with, we can sit down, right? To start with, I don't know about this audience, but could you explain what is deep tech? Maybe all of you have heard about this word, deep tech. Yours is a deep tech company, right?
Yeah. No, there are. That's a hard question. So deep technology in my, and I'm just to make sure you're not asking about deep learning, right?
No, not deep learning.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you can explain both in 1 minute, because we have got a lot of questions, I'm sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
So deep tech is, at the end of the day, there are a lot of companies, for example, where there's no innovation, right? There's no IP, there's no innovation. They're not pushing the boundaries of what is possible, right? So there are a lot of companies which just take the ChatGPT AIs and build sort of simple tools on top of them, right? There was a company called Jasper, which was just for content marketing and creation, which was valued about $1 billion+, I think, before ChatGPT came out. And once ChatGPT came out, tanked because it was just using the GPT APIs. That to me is not deep tech, right? So deep technology is when you're trying to push the boundaries of what is possible. You need to create something that is not possible today. And to me, that is deep tech, right? It's stuff that is patentable, stuff that is pushing the boundaries of knowledge.
And deep learning?
Deep learning is a specific technique in AI, which is just trying to, at the end of the day, I mean, I don't want to get too complex. Deep learning is the reason NVIDIA is a $3 trillion company today, right? So if you want, all the AI is based off of this technique called deep learning. And to do deep learning, you cannot use traditional computers and machines. You need to use these GPUs, which only NVIDIA has.
Right.
And that is deep learning. It's a specific technique for machine learning.
So one of the things I think you mentioned, Vikram, in your very nice presentation, and thank you for that, is that AI is very good at automating the boring tasks.
Yeah.
So here are 2-3 boring tasks, right? I mean, I just asked my good friends Gajendra as well as Ratnashri. Lot of wealth managers, they have to do a lot of operations, and this may include compliance filing. It may include computing things. It may include operational tasks like doing a transaction.
Yeah.
So let's just take these 3, right?
Yeah.
One is compliance filing.
Yeah.
The second is, let's say, booking a transaction. And the third could be, sending a report back to the customer and, customer complaints.
Yeah.
So if you can give a very quick, 2-minute answer for each.
Yeah. So I think in each of these, actually AI or these agents, for example, can play a significant role. Because if you want to do compliance filing, again, you need to get some bunch of data from different places and say I've done XYZ, do some form filling at the end of the day, and then file the compliance report, right? I mean, roughly, if I understand correctly what you're saying. And this is exactly where AI can help. The only caveat I would have is, I would advise you to have a human in the loop. So trust the AI, but have a human to verify that it's done it correctly, right? So the difference now is, instead of having 3 people generating that compliance report for you to file, have the AI generate the compliance report, but at the end of the day, have a human spend an hour to just verify that it's okay, because you don't want the Google kind of mistakes.
Right. How about, talking with, customer complaints and queries? And
so that absolutely is a place where AI helps. So if you guys are familiar with this company called Klarna, right? And even Swiggy, for example, all of these companies, and Zomato, I know, all of these, for example, have replaced a bunch of their customer support, chat, etc., with AI today. And that at some level is a somewhat more low risk operation, because in the wealth management scenario, somebody might call you and ask you about, something about their portfolio. Maybe they're not able to log into their website. How do they get login? They might want to know something about certain fund facts. They might want to know about a certain transaction that has happened. These are all fairly simple things that can be automated away with AI with low risk to you as a company.
So there's lots of, actual wealth managers here.
Sure.
How costly will it be for them, or what will it take for them to set these things up in their own business?
That's Srinivas, that's a fantastic question, right? So today, and so there are so let me answer that question a little carefully, right? If you're naive about how you implement AI in your organization, you can burn a hole in your pocket. So be very, very wary and careful about how you implement AI in the organization. A lot of people will throw AI at you, but the running cost of this AI might not offset your human costs if you're not careful about it. So you have to choose the right vendors who know how to make those kind of trade-offs between cost, what kind of models to use, when, where. There are a lot of engineering trade-offs that need to be made. If you just sort of blindly use if you're just a front end to ChatGPT or something like that, then you will completely burn a hole in your pocket.
But is that something like an opportunity for your company? Maybe people should talk.
No, absolutely. Thanks for that lead up. So our claim, of course, is exactly that we offer AI at a significantly lower cost. So we offer it at enterprise grade, secure and compliant, and at low cost compared to most other traditional vendors, right? And that's something we are very, very, very carefully focused on.
Right. So let me take some of the questions, and there are lots of them. I don't know how long we have got. It shows 9 minutes. I don't know if you've got patience to wait for 9 more minutes. Utsashi is asking a question. The presentation was really, really good. Was it created by AI?
The first slide, the image there was created by AI. The rest of it was human intelligence. So as I said, human intelligence still trumps AI in a bunch of things.
Right. So what is the, at a conceptual level, I don't know, by a raise of hands, if people can tell or show how many of you are using ChatGPT? So almost the entire room. And how many of you are using ChatGPT for your businesses? Again, a similar raise of hands. And are all of you aware about the Llama model that has come in? Yeah, some of them are aware. So I wanted to understand now, given this background, how should people position themselves on, where to use AI, where not to use AI, where to go to talk with, folks like you and get your help in actually, helping them integrate into their systems. So are there any conceptual building blocks?
Yeah, I think I sort of alluded to it in my talk, right? So to me, at the end of the day, it is AI augments human capacity, right? So don't trust people who will tell you that AI is going to automate things away or eliminate your jobs or things like that. And don't ever trust it to do business critical things in an autonomous fashion. Anything, for example, don't run an automated portfolio management run by AI, right? I think there are people claiming to do that. I would strongly advise against asking ChatGPT. I mean, I've seen, for example, ads coming to me saying that use ChatGPT to predict the stocks and invest in stocks and nonsense like that. So don't trust, especially AI that is built on top of these large language models, don't trust it to autonomously take or implement business critical decisions. Wherever it eliminates grunge work for you, synthesizes information for you, those kinds of things, wherever there is a lot of grunge work, repetitive tasks that you don't want to invest in and can be automated away, that is where you should invest in AI. At the end of the day, the human intelligence always triumphs.
Yeah, so that was, kind of the question raised by Mr. Vivek. Rishabh has an interesting question which says that, this perplexity. Can you share with us, you talked about Klarna, You showed what ChatGPT can do. So can you just share, what's happening in the frontier of AI chatbots that are coming out? There's Perplexity as well. That's the question from Rishabh, and he's asking which tool is the best for summarizing PDF apart from the tool that you guys have developed.
No, so I think Perplexity is phenomenal. I'm blown away at the speed at which, and if any of you here doesn't use Perplexity, I would strongly encourage you to go and use Perplexity. It's a phenomenal tool, right? But what I find, and then there is Claude. Claude 3.5 Sonnet is very, very good, especially at understanding complex documents, summarizing, etc. This is from Anthropic. I found it better than
Haiku.
Oftentimes, better than other tools that are out there. ChatGPT is good in certain tasks. Perplexity is very good if you want to ask questions of real world data that's constantly streaming in, and instead of going to Google and going through 10 different links, if you just want to ask a question and get the top answers in a summarized fashion, then I think Perplexity is good. So bottom line, the answer actually in what we have also found is there is no single tool that outdoes that is best at every single task that you want to do, right? So you have to sort of pick horses for courses and use the right tool at the right time. And again, there are cost trade-offs and you have to be careful about.
So is there a GPT that advises on this?
I'm there.
Okay.
Talk to me.
So there was Mr. Arvind Mathur. I don't know if he's there, a senior colleague from Delhi chapter. This morning he asked me about a website called Daniel Finn. I don't know if you're aware of this, but they've started to give, it's like, use AI to predict stock prices. So one of the things, back then, 10, 20 years back, even now, I think, at least in Citi, a traditional quants model would give you a short-term rating, a long-term rating. And there is no AI in this, right? It's just simple quants-based service. Can AI give a view on every stock, and how reliable should it be? Have you heard about Daniel Finn?
No, I've not heard about this Finn, but
Daniel Finn.
Daniel Finn. But there was a recent paper from the Chicago School of, the Booth School of Business, where people the professors there did a detailed study on whether AI can beat a stock analyst in sort of, for example, predicting the EPS, etc., right? And their claim is that if you give the appropriate data, then an AI analyst can do a better job. But I'm a little, so again, okay, I'm a little skeptical. I mean, I'll stop there.
People will be happy with that.
There are a lot of nuances to that answer, but I'll just stop at
no,
this
people will be happy with that answer.
Okay.
So Lokesh Mrig, he's a very established senior quant researcher, if I understand it right. So he's asking a question, are firms over-investing in the Gen AI capabilities? Should we expect the AI rally to fade out?
So I think I alluded to it right at the start of my conversation, and I was having a conversation with some of the other folks. I think we are in the midst of a huge bubble. To me, this is like the equivalent I draw is the .com bubble. I think there's definitely going to be, so in the short term, I'm very bearish on AI. In the long term, I'm very bullish on AI. My take, and I've discussed this with other folks also, I think NVIDIA in another 5 years is going to be a very boring company. It's like the Cisco of the .com era. The foundational models or the large language models are going to get commoditized. And I think the value is going to migrate to the top, the people who build applications on top of AI. So to me, if you want to draw the parallel with the .com era, it's the Amazon of the world, right? So what's going to be the Amazon that's going to emerge out of all this chaos that's happening now? And I think that's where the value is. It's not in NVIDIA or the...
So to Lokesh, one more input to support what Vikram is saying. There's a very good series that The Economist has just started from, I think, 2 days back. Yesterday, they covered the AI supply chain. And I think it's a 7-day series that they'll start. So look out for it. I mean, if if you have a subscription to The Economist. But I wanted to understand from you, why are you long-term not bullish?
No, long-term,
not bearish.
Long-term, okay, because maybe I'm a practitioner. I work with it on a daily basis, and I see the kind of advancements that are coming out on a daily basis.
Got it. So I wanted you to, if you can please, explain to people what is emergent behavior.
Okay. So emergent behavior is this thesis that if you put together lots of maybe simple building blocks, right? What's called simple automata, and they start interacting with each other, then all kinds of very complex behaviors and phenomena and systems can emerge out of that, right? Simple is the ant example. Each ant by itself is doing something very trivial, but a colony of ants accomplishes great work, right? And that's roughly what the idea of emergent behavior is. The question I think you're alluding to is, will AI display emergent behavior? So again, AI is a very broad term. So let me just say that the current approach to AI that is there, that is being done with large language models, this probabilistic mechanisms, there I'm skeptical if a terminator will come out of emergent behavior from there. So,
right. There's a person who's anonymous. I'm a software developer who writes code in Python. You're not alone. And who has an interest in finance. You are not alone. What is the career opportunity that can be explored by someone like me so that I can capitalize on my skills?
I mean, I think I'm assuming you're wanting to apply software development in the financial world, and
yeah.
So I sort of hear, I think there's a lot of
There's one more direct question. Soumya is asking, what skills and attributes does a non-finance person and non-tech person need to have to work with in your company?
Non-finance and non-tech. Okay. I look for, I mean, I think Mr. Kothari answered it in different ways some time ago, right? Just extreme curiosity, hunger to learn, and desire, ability to work exceptionally hard. I think those are the only things that don't change. All this tech, I mean, today AI is the flavor of the day, tomorrow something else will come up. That's irrelevant. As long as you have these three, you'll be fine, whether it's my company or elsewhere.
No, so Soumya, you can meet Vikram after this session, I guess. Lokesh has one more question, and maybe we should close out unless people have got questions here in the audience. And I've got one more personal after Lokesh's question. Which is your preferred open source LLM model for executing general productivity tasks which require minimal computing power?
So there is OLlama, which you can sort of run on your own device.
Llama 3, right? No.
It's a OLlama, it's a sort of, you can import it onto your device. But I think Llama 3.1, the newest drop from Meta, is a little too big. It's about 450 billion parameters. But the Llama 3 is definitely a very, very, very good model that folks can use for personal productivity if you can afford it. But otherwise, try to use OLlama. If you want to do coding and development, there are many tools out there, but I'll take that offline maybe.
Right. So one last question that I wanted to, if you can share with everyone, you've gone through, different areas, right? You've straddled the worlds of academia and finance, and now you're, starting this company, and you to also talk a little bit about your previous company.
Sure.
So what is exciting you? And you're saying long-term bullish, short-term bearish. What keeps you going? And what do you think is happening? So there are 3 questions if you can quickly share.
Okay, those are hard questions. So one thing that keeps me going is, my aspiration is to build a deep tech powerhouse company out of India. So that's an aspiration I have. I don't know but if 1,000 people try it, maybe one person will build it. So that's definitely the aspirational goal. My previous startup was a search startup. I think the question on the name Zetata was, I mean, we were trying to deal with zettabytes of data, which is bigger than petabytes of data. Yes. So that's the thing. Why am I long-term bullish? So I can answer that. That's an easy question to answer. Just if I look at, I think people talk about disrupting research analysts, software developers and all of that, but the disruption I have seen is in terms of just the kind of machine learning, democratization of machine learning capabilities, right? What would have taken me an army of very well-trained engineers to develop maybe over 1 or 2 years, nowadays takes a couple of engineers and 2 to 3 months. It is definitely transformative, and it's democratizing access to intelligence at a scale I have not seen. Right. And the speed at which it is evolving is, I've never seen any field evolve this fast, right? It's just absolutely mind-boggling. So.
One last closing thing, Vikram, if you can share with folks, what sites should they go to for gleaning information on this very hot topic, on which you are bearish, but there's a lot happening. Which sites should they go to? What books or periodicals they should refer to understand more?
So, I guess there are, again, some of these are very layered questions. I guess it depends on what lens you're wearing when you want to look at this. Are you trying to learn the underlying technology landscape, the research papers and stuff? I don't think that's what this audience wants.
Yeah.
This audience wants more general purpose news that is coming out in this space. I think there are a lot of, for example, the VCs of the world are actually writing very, very good articles on this. Andreessen Horowitz is writing a whole bunch of viewpoints on where AI is going. I think there's a lot of good white papers coming out of the consulting world. If you look at the PwC, BCG, KPMG, etc., they've written some phenomenal white papers on where this landscape is evolving and where it is going to. I think Goldman Sachs also has something very interesting recently. So I would advise folks to just, and of course there are many prominent folks living in the Twitterverse, right from Elon Musk to he writes a lot of good stuff on the AI space, to folks from Meta like Yann LeCun, one of the godfathers of AI. But I think it's an interesting space because I think this is the first time in society where we have, the societal impact is so huge that you need to read stuff from the ethicists, the legal fraternity, the policy and regulators, the tech folks, etc. It's a very, very complex and fascinating landscape, because I don't think the future of AI can be decided. We shouldn't make the same mistakes again of big tech deciding the future of technology, right? Because this is going to have very, very long-term impact for society as a whole. So we need to be inclusive of who we bring into this conversation and make it happen.
Right. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, Vikram, for the wonderful presentation and the Q&A as well. We hope to be in touch with you and hope to do many more sessions with you. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.